Alright, moving right along. One last thing to talk about, one last order of business. Michael Jackson was recently in the news again. If you want to call it that, the fucking tabloid junkie fucking piece of shit news. And before I go on, I want to say one of my favorite YouTubers, a guy named Razorfist, actually did an excellent piece on this. No way I'm going to be able to top what he did, and I'm not even trying to. This is something I had actually recorded a video talking about this a couple days before his came out. And I was like, well, fuck that. Because, again, his was a lot more organized. I tend to be scatterbrained, and if I don't write shit down, I just kind of ramble like I have been here. That's why this is a podcast and not an actual video, as so to speak. But anyways, Razorfist did an excellent job of breaking this news apart, exposing it for the bullshit it is. And I'm just going to talk about it because people that know me know that I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. I have been my whole life. Probably even more so than just a fan. To the point of, I very, very closely followed his career. Not even just, the music, but even beyond that. There's a whole other world below the surface that you follow it, and at a certain point you kind of feel like a kind of a connection to this person. So something I very, very deeply care about. I always kind of felt like he was kind of alone in the world. Somebody that really needed a friend that wouldn't take advantage of him. He had that to a certain extent, but it wasn't something he could have all the time. He had a family. He had a job to take, he had obligations, so I feel like a lot of people took advantage of him, and probably just out of the fact that he was, just the type of guy. He was very smart, but, he also let a lot of people take advantage of him, and I think it ended up eventually leading to his death, basically. But, so this dirt shit fucking rag website, basically, I would say, just looking at their website and some of the headlines and the way it's laid out, this is like the Inquirer of the internet, basically. It's RadarOnline. Pedo proof? Never before seen cop reports. Actually, the cop reports have been seen before. Maybe not in their entirety, but the details of them have been known for a long time. Never before seen cop reports expose Michael Jackson's 6 secrets. Okay. Just to keep it short and sweet here, the TLDR version is the stuff in this report that they published on this website is old news. If you paid attention to the 2005 trial, you know all this shit already. It was all there, and it was all thrown out because it wasn't good enough to convict. There wasn't anything in these reports, and not even in the FBI investigations, to get a conviction. And that tells you how good it was in the first place. If this report, if this evidence in these reports was so smoking gun awesome, Michael would be in jail right now and probably wouldn't have been able to get the propofol to kill himself. He would have been locked up. He would have lost that case. All 14 counts. Based on what they're saying in this article. And the fucked up thing is that they even supply the reports, which don't corroborate with what they write in the article. What they write in the article is, he had sinister house of horrors inside his infamous Neverland Ranch. Stockpiling images of pornography, animal torture, S&M, and going in a bid to seduce, and gore, in a bid to seduce innocent young boys. Nearly 7 years after the King of Pop's death, RadarOnline, actually almost exactly 7 years. They did this right before the anniversary of his fucking death, which is just abhorrent in its own right. Nearly 7 years after the King of Pop's death, RadarOnline.com has obtained never-before-seen reports from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department that show the true depths of his depravity. Again, these reports were taken after the raid on the ranch in 2003. The search was conducted as part of the continuing child sex abuse investigation against the gloved one and turned up everything from Jackson's twisted porn collection. Look, people, the man had porn. The man was an adult. You know, he was an adult male. He had fucking porn. I have porn. Doesn't mean I'm a child molester. You know, and look, you want to go, well, you had porn, but he also had an amusement park, and he had toys, and he had all this shit. So what? Like, we'll go on here, but again, so what? Watch Razorfist video. He explains it a lot better than I do, but I'm going to get into it somewhat. The search was included filthy photos and videos of men, women, boys, and girls in perverted positions, to drugs to treat sex addiction. Drugs to treat sex addiction, by the way, are Percocet. Yeah, Percocet. Unless there's some other drug that I didn't see in the report. The only drug mentioned in the report with any correlation to sex addiction is fucking Percocet. Yes, people. Let that sink in for a second. Multiple prescriptions written by a variety of physicians. Of course, the man was a fucking multimillionaire. He can get any doctor he wants to write him a fucking prescription. Ugh. One of the investigators with direct knowledge of the raid said the detective's report cites Michael even used sexy photos of his own nephews who were in the band 3T in their underwear to excite young boys. No, it doesn't say that. Over and over in the reports, there will be a line at the end of something that says, in my experience, things like this have been used to groom young boys for molestation or something like that. It doesn't say that they were. Like, no, it doesn't say that. It says they could be, and they have been in the past, but it's also 98% of it is just regular fucking porn. The fact that he was accused of molestation is all they need to include that this could be used to groom blah, 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 blah. In other words, like, if I was to get busted for something, they were coming in, they see my porn collection, I'm like, oh, he just got porn. But if I was accused of being a molester, they'll be like, oh, he's got porn, he obviously molests little boys. No, it's not what they say. The cops, all right, now this is something they don't have proof for. I read through the reports. I don't remember seeing any proof of what's about to be here. So the cops also searched a rented storage space after Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Detective Craig Bonner requested a warrant. The warrant request for Sugared Storage said investigators learned about the locker from witnesses who told them materials were moved into it after the investigation was launched. Which doesn't make much sense. Because after the investigation was launched, well, investigation is happening. How could they fucking move something? How could they move something after the investigation was already started? Because, like, they pretty much cleaned that place out. Like Neverland, they pretty much cleaned it out in an afternoon. Like, there are videos of this shit. You know, not even just on this website, but also on YouTube. So yeah, apparently, they found notes, diaries, documents, photographs, audio tapes and videotapes, 80 video recordings and computer hard drives. And this article never really, you know, mentions what is really said in the reports. The documents expose Jackson as a manipulative, drug and sex-crazed predator who used blood, gore, and sexually explicit images of animal sacrifice and perverse adult sex acts to bend children to his will. No, the documents don't say. The documents are just an account of what the police found. They're just like basic fucking red tape, you know, paperwork that the cops have to fill out when they examine the evidence. That's all. There's no definitive answers, you know, and because if this was true, if this was like, because they're saying in this article, they're making it sound like the reports definitively said this, and this is the actual account of what happened. If that was the case, Michael would have gone to jail. Like, he would have been charged for this shit. The shit they're mentioning in this article is smoking gun. Like, this is big shit. If this was true, Michael would have been locked the fuck up. Like, but the fact of the matter is, he wasn't locked up. He was acquitted on all 14 fucking charges. All this evidence that's in these reports was used and was eventually, most of it, thrown out. Because again, 98% of it is just fucking porn, like Hustler and Penthouse and random fucking nudie magazines and fucking hardcore porn, which any adult fucking has. Or most adults, anyways. Especially adult men. You know, we have porn. I'm sorry, we do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly natural. They found like a few coffee table books, art type books, like actual art, which are bestsellers on Amazon that are not child porn. But in this article, they claim it's child porn. And nowhere in the reports do they say it's child porn. Nowhere in the reports does it say anything about child torture. Yeah, he had some S&M books and movies, but so what? Again, perfectly normal. A lot of people do. Children bleeding and pain and tormented in these photos. Again, I don't remember seeing that. And if it did, again, there were some art books. Maybe that was in those. But again, one thing people need to understand is Michael Jackson had fans, and his fans sent him shit. And not only that, he had a library that he was proud of. Over 1 million books in this fucking library. I guarantee there was a bunch that he never even fucking looked at, you know? But RadarOnline is taking it as, and presenting it as, well, he had these things, so obviously he molested kids. Again, with no fucking proof. And the police reports don't say anything definitive. In a book Jackson called Room to Play, there is a deeply disturbing photo of a murdered child beauty queen, JonBenet Ramsey lookalike, with a noose around her neck. I've actually seen the picture of this, and it's obviously like an art piece. Maybe not tasteful art, but again, it's something that, who knows if Michael ever looked at it, you know? And I think that might be the same book that had an inscription in it that proved it was sent to him by a fan. There are also photos and videos featuring sadomasochistic sex, S&M, bondage, transsexuals, chicks with dicks. That right there, I can't take this article seriously. Why would you fucking put chicks with dicks? Like, who cares? Number one. Number two, that's a dumb fucking phrase that's only used in porn, and you know, whatever. Porn magazines and videos with titles like Hustler's Barely Legal and Naughty Neighbors. Again, perfectly fucking normal. These are popular porn magazines. Michael Jackson had truly perverse sexual appetites, and the twisted photos tell a sadistic side of him that nobody really knew. No. You don't need... dude, all you have to know is he's an adult. He's an adult male. He's got desires. He's got needs. Well, he was. He had desires. He had needs. You know, porn, especially for a lonely guy like that, a famous guy that can't go out without being mobbed, you know, it's got to get lonely. You know, of course he's going to have some fucking porn laying around. At the time, then District Attorney Tom Sneddon and his team wrote in their charges against Jackson, the materials described are relevant to the issues of the defendant's intent and his method of grooming young boys to satisfy his lewd desires. Again, no proof. This is just something they wrote in the report, or Tom Sneddon wrote in his specific report, because he had a grudge against Michael. Let me tell you how sadistic Tom Sneddon himself is. He was actually very instrumental in getting this, I don't know if you call it a law or a statute, whatever the fuck you call it, ordinance or whatever, passed in California, in Santa Barbara, maybe even the whole state, which says that any evidence that was collected in a previous case, as in the 1990 whatever allegations, can be reintroduced in a new case. So basically, he had been building up so-called evidence for 20 years or whatever it was at that point, just to use in this new case. And again, none of it was usable because none of it was seen by the jury or anybody else to be anything that illegal, anything that wasn't just normal that people have. And the Radar article goes on and basically says the same shit over and over again. Stuff that was proven wrong, and again, in the court. I challenge anybody out there to go watch the Razorfist video, because that's really, he does it so well. And even just go on YouTube and search for Michael Jackson innocent proof or whatever. You know, like there's plenty of stuff out there. Watch the Aphrodite Jones. What's it fucking called? True crime about Michael Jackson. Again, like Aphrodite Jones was a reporter who, before the trial, was dead set on Michael being a pedophile. She was ready to hang him. She was excited that they were going to have this huge story of Michael Jackson going to jail until she got to read the transcripts and got to be in the court a couple days and realized that, wow, like this man is innocent. Like these people are trying to take advantage of him. You know, the people, the kids that accused him the most recent time for the trial were clearly being coached. And their family had been caught several times trying to extort money from other celebrities. But the media wove this fucking story, just like RadarOnline is doing here, to a fucking dead man just days before the anniversary of his fucking death. They weave this narrative that is there basically just to get ratings and clicks. You know, like that's all they care about. They don't care about the truth. They don't even want the truth to be easily found, which this stuff is easily found. Like there's no new news here. They just did it because they knew the anniversary of his passing was coming up, and it would be easy clicks. You know, if you're like, oh shit, people are going to be searching Michael Jackson's name because the anniversary of his death is coming up, and there's this other guy that's trying to sue the estate for some bogus charges. So his name's going to be in the news again. People are going to be searching it. Let's put this out there. This will get us a lot of clicks, and it doesn't even have to be true, which is the fucked up part about it, because none of it's true. The stuff about his nephew was actually the cover image for their album that his nephew had put out. Ridiculous. In 2003, the Thriller star was charged with 7 felony counts of child molestation and 2 felony counts of providing an intoxicant to a minor under the age of 14 in order to seduce him. And he was acquitted on all fucking counts. He faced up to 20 years in prison. And again, the way the Radar is making this shit sound is this is the smoking gun evidence that the prosecution would have needed to use to put Michael away for life, for 20 years or whatever. No, it wasn't, because they did try to use it and it was all thrown out. It was all considered not relevant and perfectly legal. As for the paid settlements, again, Razorfist explains that better than I was able to in my video that you'll never get to see. But basically, he was in the middle of a tour. You know, Sony was making money off of him. Pepsi, I think, was still sponsoring him at the time. He had a lot of sponsors. He had a lot of people to answer to. He would have lost a ton of money if he would have taken that to court. So he settled it, and there have been cases since then that his people on his behalf have settled for him. It was just whenever the 2003 allegations came along, he was finally like, fuck it, enough's enough. I'm not doing anything right now anyways. It's time for me to clear my name. So he did. And look, I know I'm a Michael Jackson fan. Uber fan. You know, I love everything the guy's ever done. I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for him because I think I kind of understand him on a certain level. So I understand that coming from me, it's kind of like, oh, well, you're biased. But here's something else you need to understand about me. I, like the thought of pedophilia and shit like that sickens me. Like, it makes me, like, physically weak to think that somebody could do something like that to a kid. Right now, just talking about it, I'm getting choked up. Because, like kids are, like, I'm not, like, the type of person that just loves kids. Like, if you try to show me a picture of your kid, I'm going to fucking be pissed. Because I hate seeing pictures of kids. Like, it's not something I'm a fan of. But as far as, like, you know, abuse and shit like that, I'm very sensitive to it. It's like, I think that child abusers, child molesters should be hung up in the center of town and have their balls cut off, you know, or tits, whatever the case, you know. And also, I'm fascinated by, like, court stuff. Like, whenever, like, if there's a case that's going on that interests me, I'll dive in, you know. I'll look at both sides, I'll study it, you know. And that's what I did with Michael's case, because I was interested in it. And I was prepared. I was fully prepared. Again, even though I stuck up for him, I always stuck up for him because I never believed the shit. But I was fully prepared to be proven wrong. Like, it seemed at the time they had a ton of evidence until you actually read through it. And the evidence is here on this thing, this radar report. You can look through it. There might be some things in there that make you, because the way the guy writes out the reports, he obviously had a bias himself. But again, it doesn't say anything definitively. And you have to keep in mind that in the court case, all this stuff was entered and none of it worked out. So again, if this stuff was such good evidence, why isn't he in jail? Why was he out of jail and able to be killed, 7 years ago? So knowing that about me, I understand that people would say I'm biased, but I looked at it when the trial was going on. I had access to the transcripts every day after shit would close. I think it was usually like a 12-hour period. Eventually the transcripts would come in and I would read them every day from top to bottom, no matter how much was there. And it became clear that, number one, the prosecution had no case. And one thing that's really cool you can look at online is the FBI investigation. They actually looked at these hard drives that were collected and found nothing illegal. Nothing at all. Now you will say, like, go look at other child molestation and child rape cases. What's the common theme? The common theme is they all have at least one computer filled with child porn. Like, that's usually something that's involved. That's usually what tips people off, is them obtaining child porn. And they'll end up confiscating a computer and finding a ton of child porn. They didn't find nothing. They found a few coffee table books, again, which are perfectly legal, not child porn, not sexual in nature. So that right there should be enough to tell you that the man it wasn't just cut and dry. Like, there was more to the case than what the media was willing to portray. So yeah, they found nothing on, like, I don't know, like 10 or 20 hard drives that were confiscated. Nothing at all. Nothing that wasn't regular porn. Michael Jackson apparently liked the Hustler Barely Legal, and he might have been bisexual. He had some naked dudes too, it's some naked dude magazines, but whatever, who cares? But according to many people, he was a big fan of the ladies. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, again, it doesn't matter. But the point is, no child porn was found. And this RadarOnline assholes are making it seem like there was. And it's simply not true. So, I mean, I hope that the Michael Jackson estate would be able to sue RadarOnline. I don't know. I think there's some kind of loophole that keeps, like, because they're not saying anything. They're just saying that, like, sources say and shit like that. So I think that kind of absolves them. But the fact that they totally misrepresent the police reports, I think should be enough, because you can read through reports and then read this article and be like, where the fuck does it say that? Because it really doesn't corroborate very often. So, yeah. And the funny thing is that just a couple days later, USA Today and a lot of other sites printed kind of a retraction, or at least covered the story. Because originally RadarOnline ran that story. A lot of these big mainstream media outlets picked it up, because they've all been wanting to bury Michael for I don't know how fucking long. Like, it's been a hobby of theirs ever since the guy was alive. They picked it up and they ran with it without fucking verifying or anything, and without using common sense. I mean, because come on, the guy was acquitted, and if this evidence was so good, like I said, that wouldn't have happened. So anyways, they came back later and kind of, not really a retraction, but did this article, which basically says that maybe RadarOnline and maybe their sources wasn't the best, and, they got the accounts from the other side and all that stuff. So go check it out. I don't know. That's really all I have to say about it. Michael Jackson didn't fuck no kids. It didn't happen. Anybody that actually takes a serious look at the evidence available would understand that, would know that. And again, I'm going to put a link in the description for Razorfist video. You should definitely watch that. It's about a half hour long, but it's worth the watch. I actually think I might go watch it again after this, just because it's so good. And I really respect the guy, because he doesn't seem like the type of guy that would be defending Michael Jackson. Like, he's totally... Most people I know like him are the people that are going around saying, that kid fucker, that weirdo Michael Jackson kid fucker. You know, like, they're those type of people. But he surprised me, you know? He not only does that, but he also does a really good career retrospective on Michael Jackson. But, you know, check him out. Subscribe to his channel. I think you'll like it.